What is up, y'all? I'm David. Welcome back to the channel. I'm a fitness and lifestyle creator here on YouTube. And today I want to talk to you about how I lost over 75 pounds in 9 months and a lot of the mistakes I made along the way and what I'm doing now and how I've decided to kind of change things up. And so before we get into the mistakes and stuff like that, I kind of want to give you a little bit of context and background of, my relationship to food, my relationship to dieting and all that. To just give you a little bit more background. I grew up in Hawaii, and actually as a child, I was not fat at all. I was quite skinny, quite thin, and had a normal relationship to food and my body. I mean, as much as a kid can have. And so it wasn't really until we moved to Atlanta when I was 7 years old where things started to kind of change, I would say. I started to gain some weight. I don't know if it was like just, getting bigger as a kid or, starting to go into puberty or those things. But yeah, definitely gained weight. 5th and 6th grade, I started to experience like bullying and stuff like that for the first time, which was, obviously not fun. Yeah, that's when I first started to really notice like, oh, wait, is there something wrong with me and wrong with my body? Kind of went through middle school and high school like normal. I wasn't really, skinny. I wasn't maybe a little bit chubby, I would say, but, nothing too crazy. And it wasn't really until college where I really started to take weight loss and my body and fitness and all these things really seriously. And it's actually not the story you would think. So my freshman year, I actually did a liquid fast. So that meant I only drank my calories for about 2 or 3 weeks. And it was like with good intention. It was like for like a religious reason, but the end result was not as great as my intention was. And, I started to develop a kind of strange relationship, kind of toxic relationship to food, really. And even though I had lost probably like 30 or 40 pounds, I think I was worse for it, actually. And, long story short, I ended up gaining all of that weight back and then some. And so sophomore year, I kind of took my second stab at weight loss. This time I did it, a little bit more healthy. I was focused on my diet. I was focused on, exercise and all those things. And actually I lost a lot of weight my sophomore year. I felt really good. I went down to 185 pounds, which was the lightest I had been in many years. And it was also honestly awesome. I don't have any photos from that time, but I think I liked how I felt. I liked how I looked. And history repeats itself, and I actually gained that weight back and more. And so that was around 2012. So between 2012, my lowest, 184, and my heaviest in 2017, 2018, at about 270 pounds, I had gained, over 75 pounds during that time. And so, yeah, that kind of brings us to the reason why I lost weight. And I mentioned this in a previous video, but I really lost the bulk of my weight before my wedding. And obviously for a wedding, I felt some pressure to look good. So many photos are being taken. I had to wear suits and all these things that I normally didn't have to do. And so, yeah, that's when I really started to get serious about it. And this is where I wanted to talk a little bit about a lot of the mistakes I made, actually. And mistake number one, and this might be kind of like surprising, is I ate way too little. I mean, obviously in a diet, the whole point is to be on a calorie deficit, but I think I took it to the extreme. I was only eating 900 calories a day, which is very, very low, especially for somebody of my kind of, I'm a bigger build and, I'm not that tall. I'm 5'10", but I should definitely be eating more than 900 calories. And so that was my biggest mistake, number one. That did me no good. That hurt me in ways, that I probably am still experiencing now, hormonally or otherwise. Like I experienced my first panic attack, I think, because of that. I was constantly tired. I was constantly anxious. I was eating like frozen shrimp and cauliflower rice. It was terrible. And I was miserable, really, because of that. So that was my biggest mistake, number one. My biggest mistake, number two, and I think a lot of people do this when they first start losing weight, is I prioritized cardio over everything. I was, I had this weird thing in my head where I wanted to cancel out what I ate. And I was already eating only 900 calories, but I felt the need to always to burn 1,000 calories on the treadmill. You can see kind of the estimated calories burned. I would always try to hit the 1,000 calorie number. And that really messed me up. I was basically eating nothing, and whatever I was eating, I was canceling out with cardio. And this is bad on multiple fronts. You really shouldn't be burning 1,000 calories. I mean, I guess you could, but if you're not eating that much, it's not good. And secondly, I was losing the very little muscle I had. It was all atrophying away, right? Because I was doing nothing to gain muscle. I was not prioritizing protein. I was not doing any strength training or weight training. And so, that was my biggest mistake, number 2. And my third mistake, I would say, is I was so obsessive. And I think a lot of people can relate to this is, the numbers, like making sure I was never eating 1 calorie over 900. I was, obsessing over if I was doing enough cardio, if I was burning enough calories. And it just made me this miserable person to be around. I feel really sorry for everyone who's there in that time of my life. But yeah, I mean, those were the biggest mistakes I made. And yeah, obviously I lost the weight right before my wedding. I was 194 pounds. So at my heaviest, I was 270, 194. So, I lost over 75 pounds or 70 pounds. I don't know exactly what it is. And yeah, but I'm still kind of, I think, dealing with the negative repercussions of how I lost that weight. I had to kind of rebuild my entire body and my view of health from there. And so that kind of leads us to the last portion, which is like, what am I doing now, right? I think I mentioned in previous videos, I'm starting off at 230 pounds in this kind of hopefully final chapter of my weight loss. I'm down to 227 as of this morning, which is great in 2 weeks. So I feel like I'm making really good, steady progress. I'm doing 5 things differently this time. The first one is I'm getting help. When I was losing the 75 pounds, I was really arrogant and stubborn. I didn't want to listen to anybody. People would tell me, yo, David, like, you're not eating enough, or you're doing way too much cardio. You should be doing all this and that. And I really did not want to hear them, right? But this time around, like, I got a coach. You had a nutritionist. I got a DEXA scan, which is like a big x-ray that scans your whole body for fat and stuff, and really gave me a baseline. And then, worked with a nutritionist to help me think about a plan. And most recently, my dear friend, Alex, who, I actually went to college with, he actually saw me through all these years and my ups and downs. He graciously has offered to help me out as my coach as well. And so we're rethinking my macros, we're rethinking my diet and exercise and all those things. And so I'm really thankful and happy about that. But that's a huge change for me. Change number 2 I'm making is I'm super prioritizing strength training over everything. And this one's cool because actually, like, for the longest time, I didn't have anything that gave me confidence or, made me excited to work out or go to the gym or think about fitness. And as I've really started to focus on strength training over the last couple of years, it's been an awesome confidence booster. I've loved seeing the progress. I've really loved seeing how my body changes. And really, more than anything, it's like I've really appreciated being able to identify somebody who's strong. And I know that sounds kind of like weird and lame, but to me, it's really important to actually believe that I have strength and see it kind of improve over time. So that's my big change number 2. Change number 3 that I'm making, which is even really surprising for me, is the amount of calories I'm eating. I'm actually eating quite well, if you will. Like before I had mentioned, I was doing 900 calories, but even not that extreme. I'd always done like 1,700 calories per day, 1,800 calories per day, maybe max 1,900. Right now, I'm actually doing 2,750 calories a day. And I'm still at a deficit. Like I had mentioned, I'm down 3 pounds as of this week, as of today. And so this is really weird and I think kind of confusing for me. And it took me a long time to learn this, but my coach Alex and my friend Alex told me and has been trying to get me to understand this fact that like we're going after a long-term sustainable approach to our calorie deficit. So it isn't how little should we be eating, right? It's more about what's the most we can eat for the longest period of time and still lose weight. That's like the ultimate hack, right? We don't really need to like suffer all that much, right? And not only that is we need tools that help us that we can use when the weight stops or when we plateau, right? If I start right now the cut at 1,700 calories, when I'm plateauing in 6 months or so, I really can't go down that much more without it being this terrible experience, right? But if we slowly taper off the calories and use our kind of bank of calories as tools against plateaus and stuff like that, that makes things much easier. And so that was a huge change and lesson for me, actually. Hopefully some of you guys can relate to that. Those are the biggest changes I'm making. I think maybe a couple other ones, maybe mini ones, is I'm definitely trying not to be obsessive over this. Like, I want to enjoy this. I want to document it. And yeah, that's why I have this YouTube channel. That's why I'm talking to you guys right now, is I want to remember what it's like. And I think a lot of you guys can probably relate to this, especially if you've kind of failed, succeeded, you've been yo-yoing, you've been on this journey for a really long time. There's a little bit of shame involved in the fact that you have to do it all over again. But I think one big mental change I'm making is I want to document all of this, not just because I want to see the before and afters better, but also because it's almost a way of me believing in myself. Every week I make these videos, every day I go to the gym, every time I take a photo of myself and I document these things, it's like a little bit more self-belief. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's definitely helping. And another thing it's doing is it's actively pushing against like the shame element. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but as somebody who hasn't ever had the most ideal physique, I've really been ashamed of the mirror. I don't like looking at the mirror. But this whole process kind of has forced me to look at mirrors every day and to take a real, honest look at my own body and accept where I am now, knowing that it's not always going to be this way. And so, yeah, confronting the shame has been a big one. Confronting that it's okay to not like where you are now, knowing that you're doing the steps to make the change. So hopefully, I wasn't rambling too much and you guys took something away from this. Again, I'm on this long-term journey. I don't even know the end number. I think in my previous video, I said 60 pounds. Who knows? It could be 30 if the physique is what I'm going after. We're open, we're willing, and we're ready. And so that's it for this week's video. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments. Let me know if you guys relate at all. Would love to hear from you. Okay, thanks so much.